Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and before we get into this official game review, I want to say thank you to Tommy, George, Rhett, Danny, James, Ren, Gabby, Mikey, Kyle, Cody, Larissa, and Aaron for attending my first ever MrBucsNation game watch party. Thank every single one of you so much for attending. It really does mean a lot. And for those of you who weren't able to attend, don't worry. I plan on having events in the future since this one went so well in my opinion. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the official game review. I want to start off by saying that the Buccaneers won 55-40 against a team that was in the Super Bowl last year and is the current defending NFC champions. Were undefeated. Keyword is were undefeated. The Buccaneers have now put the Rams record at 3-1, and they dropped 55 points on the defending NFC champions, the team that was in the Super Bowl last year versus the Patriots. And I know people are going to point and say, well, the defense gave up 40 points. That's fine. Okay, that's awesome. We will talk about that a little bit later. But the Buccaneers scored 55 points and had a phenomenal amount of plays, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and even on special teams as well. You know, all three units in this game looked good against the defending NFC champions, a team that everybody had beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nobody in the national media, and even in some cases in the Buccaneers media, and even in our fan base's own thoughts, nobody, felt really comfortable about the Buccaneers beating the Los Angeles Rams, and they went out there and they proved everybody wrong. They shocked the world. Not only did they win, they put up 55 freaking points. That is phenomenal. I tip my hat to Bruce Arians and his coaching staff. We've seen in previous coaching staffs regimes that the team, they'll have a bad loss, they'll have a really crippling loss, and they'll come in the next week and they won't feel it. They won't be ready. They aren't ready to bounce back, and they just, the losses start piling up and piling up. We saw this team bounce back in a major way. They lost to the New York Giants in very heartbreaking fashion, and they came in this game and beat the defending NFC champions. I can't say that enough. And not only did they beat them, they scored 55 freaking points. So that's absolutely awesome. This is going to be phenomenal momentum moving forward in this Buccaneers game versus the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk about that later this week. But awesome win. Bruce Arians and his coaching staff got these guys ready, got them to, buy back in and bounce back. It was absolutely awesome to see. Now we can start talking about some of the offensive players first that impressed me. First guy, Jameis Winston. Jameis freaking Winston, okay? Had 4 touchdowns, over 300 passing yards, arguably one of the best games of his career against one of the hardest teams he has ever played, and he went out there and he did such an awesome job. I know he had the bad interception. It is what it is. Bruce Arians even said he didn't really have a problem with it, so it's fine at the end of the day considering how much good that Jameis Winston did. Like I've said before, no passer in the NFL is going to bat a perfect, 100%, and, Jameis Winston is no different from that. So the fact that he went out there, regardless of the interception, despite the interception, put up such phenomenal numbers against a Rams defense that is touted to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you cannot convince me otherwise because Aaron freaking Donald is on this Rams defense, and we will talk about that. Trust me, we will certainly talk about that. Jameis Winston went out there, definitely proved that he can go out there in the bright lights, in big games, in big moments, and do good Jameis Winston things. So that was very encouraging to see. This is the 3rd game in a row that Jameis Winston has looked good. It seems like that Bruce Arians is certainly getting to him. His coaching is certainly getting to Jameis Winston because he has looked so efficient and so good through 3 weeks, taking week 1 out of it. So the last 3 weeks, Jameis Winston's looked good. He's got a lot of great momentum going into this game versus the Saints. Next person I want to talk about is Ronald freaking Jones. Again, another guy who the Dirt Cutter regime just really put down, okay? Really didn't do good things with. They didn't play him at all, and now with Bruce Arians in there, Bruce Arians is giving him a chance. Byron Leftwich is giving him a chance, and Ronald Jones is doing so much with the opportunities that he is given. He's looking like the 2nd-round draft pick that everybody wanted him to look like when the Buccaneers drafted him. It was just unfortunate that his rookie season, he had Dirt Cutter and company as his coaching staff because they didn't believe in him. Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, they came in, they believe in Ronald Jones, and we are seeing that. I will say it was unfortunate that given, the long runs that Ronald Jones had, they were brought back due to penalties. That sucks, but it also shows that Ronald Jones has that ability to just fight for extra yards, get those long runs, and just be really good running back. Be a really good running back. And English is not good. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that Ronald Jones, he had another great game. He's stacking them up. We saw a little bit less of Peyton Barber in this game, which makes me think that slowly but surely Ronald Jones is working his way into becoming the full-time starter for this team. We'll see what happens later on in the season, obviously, but Ronald Jones put out another great production here. Next player I want to talk about is wide receiver Chris Godwin, who was playing in this game with a hip injury. It seemed like he wasn't going to play at first, and then he came in, he played the whole game, and he looked great. Okay, he had over 100 yards receiving, had 2 touchdowns. He looked really, really good despite his injury. Bruce Arians even said in his post-game press conference that, yeah, he's a tough guy. He was hurting out there, but he still put up phenomenal production despite his injury. And I agree with Bruce 100%. Chris Godwin went out there. He did a really, really awesome job. One of Jameis Winston's favorite targets so far this year. Him and Mike Evans have been doing some really, really good things. He's kind of overshadowed Mike Evans a little bit, but I will say Mike Evans is still certainly getting his, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. So Godwin, this is second really good game in a row. I want to continue to see him build on these numbers, build on the momentum he's given himself, and continue to build on that chemistry with Jameis Winston, because it's obvious that they both, benefit from each other. Jameis has been targeting Godwin a lot through these past 2 games, and it's been working. So keep it up, keep the connection going, keep on doing great things, Chris Godwin. Next player I want to talk about real quick is OJ Howard. He did some good things. He had a couple of nice catches, some really clutch catches, some clutch moments when he needed to make some good catches. So that was really awesome to see. Moving on from that, I do want to talk about the Buccaneers offensive line. Man, that offensive line did not have an easy task for themselves today. They were going up against Aaron Donald. They were going up against Clay Matthews, Michael Brockers, among other players on this Rams front 7. That is a really, really good front 7. I talked about how Aaron Donald is a game wrecker, and I think that all things considered in this game, Aaron Donald really, really was maintained well by the Buccaneers offensive line. I know it wasn't perfect. I know a couple of sacks were given up, some pressure and whatnot, but considering how bad things could have been, I think that this is a dramatic improvement in the play of the offensive line that, let's all be honest, hasn't looked too great, especially in the, right tackle and on the right side of the offensive line through a couple of weeks coming into this game. So, for the fact that they had such a phenomenal game in terms of, containing this Rams defensive line and this Rams front 7, awesome job by the offensive line. Hopefully, again, much like most of the players in this game that did good, keep on building on that momentum, go back to work, do an awesome job next game versus the Saints. You're going to have Cam Jordan to deal with again. We'll talk about that later on in the week, but the offensive line in this game did a really, really good job. Finally, the last offensive player that I want to talk about is wide receiver Mike Evans. Just talking about how great Mike Evans is. You all know how great Mike Evans is. I think he might honestly be the best deep threat wide receiver that we have on this team, which I know sounds like weird because he's more of a physical type of wide receiver, but the guy's a deep threat, okay? You can't convince me otherwise. He's just an all-around package wide receiver. He's got the speed. He had a long touchdown, deep threat, kind of play from Jameis Winston today. It was great to see. He completely burned the guy that he was covering him. I believe it was Marcus Peters. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but Mike Evans continues to do Mike Evans things. It's just so great. Best wide receiver in Buccaneers history. Just keep on going, Mike. I want to see you hit 1,000 yards again this year. Keep that streak going and keep on doing Mike Evans things. Let's shift focus to the defensive side of the ball. I want to talk about Shaq Barrett, and I'm gonna be quick with this one because we all know how good Shaq Barrett is. My Shaq Barrett merchandise is on the way. I'm sure a lot of you guys at this point have ordered jerseys, considering he won the Buccaneers this game in the end, okay? He had the big strip sack fumble that was recovered by Ndamukong Suh that led to the final touchdown. That was the nail in the coffin. It was, the last, most important drive for the Los Angeles Rams. They could have tied it up. They had the opportunity to do so, but Shaq Barrett came in, got the strip sack. He really likes doing that. I saw him do it earlier on in the game. He really goes for those strip sacks, which I know some people are going to argue, oh no, he has to wrap up. He has to try and grab the jersey. I am totally fine with him going for the strip sacks. He's really good at it. It's really awesome. He just reaches out with one arm, just swats the ball down, and it counts as a sack, and it counts as a forced fumble. So Shaq Barrett, he is, in my opinion, defensive player of the month just for the entire NFL. And I'm sure in a lot of other people's opinions, he is the defensive player of the month as well. A lot of people have even been saying, hey, Shaq Barrett could potentially win Defensive Player of the Year, which I would cry. I would absolutely cry. That would be amazing. I know we are all, Shaq Barrett fans now, and it's freaking awesome, okay? It's so awesome to see Shaq Barrett. He had an interception in this game, which was amazing to see. He had a forced fumble, he had a sack, he had a really good game, as Shaq Barrett has been doing through the first month of this year. Keep it going, Shaq. I know you're going to reach 10 sacks. He's at 9 right now. He's going to get 10 next game. I have no doubt about that in my mind, and he honestly does have a legitimate shot to have the Buccaneers franchise record for most sacks in a season. So, Shaq, keep it up, man. You're doing great things. Next person I want to mention is Ndamukong Suh in the Buccaneers, just defensive line as a whole, and pretty much the front seven we can talk about right now. Ndamukong Suh, he had the final fumble recovery to, seal the deal, put the last nail in the coffin. Shaq Barrett forced the fumble, and Ndamukong Suh picked it up. He capped off at a, max of 18 miles per hour running. That's insane to me, because Ndamukong Suh is a big guy, and for him to run that fast is terrifying. So Ndamukong Suh, he was playing his former team. Revenge game for Ndamukong Suh. He capped off the revenge game in a poetic way. That was awesome to see. But I want to talk about this defensive line real quick, specifically stopping the run. Yet again, the Buccaneers did a phenomenal job stopping the run. I know Todd Gurley had 2 touchdowns, and the Buccaneers did have their moments in terms of missing tackles on Todd Gurley. But it is Todd freaking Gurley. In my opinion, top 5 running back in this league. The Buccaneers held him to under 100 yards. I believe he finished with 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is the 3rd week in a row that the Buccaneers have held a top 5 running back in this league to under 100 yards. That's awesome. You love to see that. Usually these types of running backs go off. They get tons of yards and whatnot. And Todd Gurley's done the best out of the 3, so shout out to him. He had a good game. But I still think that the Buccaneers defensive front 7, all things considered, did a really good job of containing Todd Gurley. Next 2 players I want to talk about are the safeties, Mike Edwards and Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead did have an interception. That was great. He almost had another interception in the game as well, so keep it up, Jordan Whitehead. It just continues that streak of Jordan Whitehead being one of the best players on this Buccaneers defense right now. Him, Shaq Barrett, Lord, they're looking great. Okay, they're looking absolutely phenomenal. Keep it up, Jordan Whitehead. You got an interception today. Finally, he's had his hands on a couple of passes in recent weeks, so he finally got his interception here. It was wonderful play. And then also Mike Edwards. He didn't get an interception in this game, but man, he was making some really good tackles. He was tackling Todd Gurley one-on-one. He was holding on for dear life, tackling wide receivers. It was great to see. Really good tackling in this game overall, which I know Corey Draper, the play reaction, shout out to you, my friend, will appreciate the good tackling that was done in this game by the Buccaneers defense. I know it wasn't perfect. I know Todd Gurley, missed some tackles on him. I will reiterate, it is Todd freaking Gurley. So the fact that, Edwards, Whitehead, not only were they so good in, making plays, tackling and whatnot, I still think they did some good things, helping force turnovers and stuff like that. Jordan Whitehead had an interception. That was great. So shout out to the 2 young safeties on this Buccaneers defense. Keep that momentum going. Last defensive player I want to talk about is Lavonte David. Lavonte David had the 3rd interception of Jared Goff, who, threw a lot of passes in this game. I believe he threw over 60 passes. His arm is going to be sore, so shout out to him. That sucks that he had to do that, but hey, that's what happens when you play from behind the entire game. Lavonte David, he does Lavonte David things. He continues to be one of the best defensive players on this Buccaneers defense right now. I would say he's probably the 2nd best defensive player we have right now behind Shaq Barrett, because Shaq Barrett is literally putting out a insane amount of production right now, but so is Lavonte David, okay? That should not be ignored. Lavonte David is playing so good. He looks so comfortable in this scheme. He's out there. He's doing, really amazing Lavonte David things. We see it from him every year, but he had an interception. He was pretty decent overall in pass coverage today. He looked great in run defense as well. It's Lavonte David. You all know what you're going to get with Lavonte David, one of the top linebackers in this league, probably top 5, top 10 at least. So shout out to you, Lavonte David. Keep on doing your thing, man. Finally, the last player that I want to talk about is kicker Matt Gay. What a bounce back from Matt Gay. I talked about how important it was to have Matt Gay bounce back in this game versus the Rams, and he delivered in spades. He did not miss a single freaking kick. I know that he almost missed an extra point, but there was a flag, so he had a redo, and he made his redo. Shout out to that. That's cool. But Matt Gay did so good in this game, okay? He didn't miss a kick, made a 58-yard field goal. By the way, first time in NFL history, I believe, that both teams made a 55-plus yard field goal or a 58-yard field goal, something like that. So that was cool to see. Matt Gay, he did a really, really awesome job building back up that confidence. Huge bounce back game for Matt Gay. Really helped continue to set that momentum in this game and just keep things going. It was awesome to see. I was really, really happy to see that. Matt Gay, keep things going. We all know that you can be good, so keep on being good, my friend. You have the faith of a lot of Bucs fans and the Buccaneers front office and coaching staff as well. So shout out to you, my friend. Congrats on making all of your kicks. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about is I know things were not perfect in this game, and I do want to talk about this because I know people are going to mention it. The Rams scored 40 points in this game. That's a lot of points. They had over 500 total yards in this game. That's a lot of yards. And you can point to the secondary being a problem, and, secondary wasn't, they just continued to do bad things, James. Bleh, But I will say this. Yes, you gave up 500 total yards, and yes, you gave up 40 points. That's against arguably, what a lot of people perceive to be the best offense in the NFL. One of the most innovative offenses in the NFL is an offense that got the Rams to the Super Bowl last year, and it's against a top 5 running back in this league, a bevy of weapons, and I still think the defense did enough to win this game. They got turnovers, they got pressure on Jared Goff. It's just a good offensive scheme, okay? It works. It obviously works. The Rams won, I believe, 13 games last year and made it to the Super Bowl. It's obvious that this offense works. So I'm not going to, discredit the Buccaneers defense too much because they did what they needed to do. They forced turnovers, they, got pressure on Jared Goff, and they stopped the Rams when they needed to, and they got the big clutch plays when they needed to, and that's really all we can ask from this defense. Yes, the Rams are going to go out there, and yes, they're going to get a lot of yards, and yes, they're going to get a lot of points. That's the Rams' identity as a team, is this high-octane, highly innovative offense. That's the reason everybody loves Sean McVay, is because how good he is at offense. So, I'm not going to discredit the Buccaneers defense too much for that. I did see JC Cornell on Twitter. Shout out to you, my friend, if you watch this video. He talked about the possibility of the Buccaneers potentially trading for Patrick Peterson somewhere down the line. Maybe that could happen. Maybe that could not. I will say Patrick Peterson would be an awesome addition to this secondary. It would be cool to see. But I still am very much, loving what Vernon Hargreaves and Carlton Davis are doing. I'm not even anywhere close to giving up on them. I still think that they can be phenomenal cornerbacks, and they have been doing, really, really good things as cornerbacks so far this year. It's just that the Rams offense is the Rams offense. It is what it is. But guys, let me know what you think about all of this down in the comment section below. Who were you impressed with in this game? Who were you not impressed with in this game? And what do you think about this Buccaneers win and how monumental it is for the Buccaneers momentum moving forward with the season? The record is 2-2 right now. You love to see it. It's great. It's just absolutely awesome to see. It's a great thing. Okay, this win meant so much to the Buccaneers and to all of us that, were there at the Buffalo Wild Wings at the game watch party. We were all freaking out, and it means so much to this fan base that they could bounce back from a loss like that against New York and come in and have just an absolutely amazing win. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you later on in the week to talk about the New Orleans Saints, but until the next video or the next live stream, I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, and as always guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.